Imagine waking up tomorrow and finding that your favorite burger now costs $12 instead of $10.
A gallon of milk that used to cost $4 is now $5. Your monthly grocery bill suddenly goes from $300 to $360. The strange part, your salary hasn't changed. You didn't spend more money, but somehow you can buy fewer things than before. So, where did your money go? Did someone steal it?
Not exactly.
Something much quieter is happening. It's called inflation, and it slowly reduces the value of your money every single year.
Most people think becoming poorer only happens when they lose their job or make bad financial decisions, but that's not always true.
Even if you work hard, even if you save money every month,
Even if you never waste a single dollar,
inflation can still make you poorer without you even realizing it.
and the worst part is that most people don't notice it until everyday expenses become much harder to afford.
In today's video, we'll break down exactly what inflation is, why it happens, how it affects millions of Americans every day, who actually benefits from it, and most importantly, how you can protect your money from losing its value.
By the end of this video, you'll never look at rising prices the same way again. So let's begin. Chapter 2: What is inflation?
Before we understand how inflation quietly makes you poor, we first need to understand one simple question.
What exactly is inflation? In the simplest words, inflation is the gradual increase in the prices of goods and services over time. That means the same amount of money buys fewer things than it did before. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you have $100 in your wallet today. Today, that $100 can buy
Groceries for your family, a full tank of gas for a small car,
or a nice dinner at a restaurant. Now imagine that 1 year later, prices have increased by 5% because of inflation. Your $100 is still $100. The number on the bill hasn't changed. But now that saying $100 buys less food, less gas, or a smaller dinner than before,
your money didn't disappear. Its purchasing power became weaker. Think of it like a phone battery.
a battery may still say it's full, but over the years it doesn't last as long. Money works in a similar way. It may still say $100, but because prices keep rising, it cannot buy as much as it once could. Now here's something important. Inflation doesn't happen overnight. It usually happens slowly, year after year.
That's why many people don't notice it immediately.
Instead, they slowly realize that groceries cost more, rent becomes more expensive, eating out costs more, and everyday life feels harder to afford. In the United States, inflation is measured using something called the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. This tracks the prices of everyday items that people regularly buy, such as food, gasoline, housing, healthcare, transportation, and clothing. When the CPI rises, it means the overall cost of living is increasing.
And if your income doesn't increase at the same pace, your money loses buying power.
So remember this simple definition. Inflation doesn't make your dollars disappear. It makes every dollar buy a little less than before.
Now the big question is,
why do prices keep increasing in the first place? Let's find out in the next chapter. Chapter 3: Why do prices keep going up? Now that we know what inflation is, the next question is, why do prices keep increasing? The answer is simple. Prices go up when there is more demand than supply, when the cost of making products increases, or when more money is circulating in the economy. Let's understand each one with simple examples.
Reason 1: too many people want the same product.
Imagine a new gaming console is released in the United States.
Only 1,000 consoles are available, but 10,000 people want to buy one.
Since demand is much higher than supply, stores can raise the price because they know people are willing to pay more. This doesn't just happen with electronics, it can happen with houses, cars, airline tickets, and even groceries. When demand is greater than supply, prices usually increase. Reason 2: it becomes more expensive to make products.
Now imagine a bakery.
To bake bread, the owner needs flour, electricity, fuel for delivery trucks, and workers.
If the price of flour goes up, if electricity becomes more expensive, or if workers receive higher wages,
the bakery now spends more money to make the same loaf of bread. To avoid losing money, the bakery raises the price of bread. The same thing happens with thousands of businesses across the country.
As production costs rise, businesses often pass those extra costs on to customers. Reason 3: more money in the economy.
Sometimes the government or the central bank increases the amount of money circulating in the economy. When people have more money to spend, but the number of goods and services hasn't increased by the same amount, demand rises faster than supply. Businesses notice that customers are buying more, so they increase prices. Think of it like an auction.
If 10 people are bidding for one item and everyone suddenly has more money, they'll often bid higher.
The item hasn't changed, but its price has. The same idea can happen across the economy. So, inflation usually happens because of a combination of these 3 reasons. More people want to buy goods than are available.
Businesses face higher production costs. More money is circulating than the economy can keep up with.
But here's the important part.
Knowing why inflation happens is only half the story.
The real question is,
How does inflation quietly make you poorer, even if you're earning the same salary?
let's understand that in the next chapter.
Chapter 4: How inflation quietly makes you poor.
Now let's answer the biggest question of this video.
How does inflation quietly make you poor?
The answer is simple.
Inflation doesn't usually take money out of your bank account. Instead, it slowly reduces what your money can buy. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine you're living in the United States and you earn $50,000 a year. This year, your salary is $50,000. Next year, your salary is still $50,000.
At first, it seems like nothing has changed.
But during the year, inflation was 5%.
Now groceries cost more, gas is more expensive, rent has increased,
Electricity bills are higher.
even your morning coffee costs a little more. Although your paycheck is exactly the same, your daily expenses have gone up.
That means you have less money left over each month. You may have to cut back on eating out, cancel a subscription, delay buying a new phone, or save less for the future.
This is called a loss of purchasing power.
Your income hasn't gone down, but the value of your money has. Now imagine this continues for several years.
Prices keep rising,
But your salary only increases a little or not at all.
slowly you start feeling that life is becoming more expensive. Not because you're spending carelessly,
But because your money simply doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Here's another simple example. 10 years ago, $100 could fill your shopping cart with many everyday items. Today, that same $100 buys much less. The dollar bill looks exactly the same, but its buying power has decreased. This is why inflation is often called a silent wealth killer.
it doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't send you a warning. It slowly chips away at your purchasing power month
After month,
and year after year. That's why many people feel they're working just as hard as before, but still struggle to save money.
They're not necessarily earning less.
Their money is simply buying less.
so the next time someone says, I got a raise, remember this. If your salary increases by 3%, but inflation is 5%, you're actually losing purchasing power. On paper, you're earning more.
In reality, your money is worth less than before. And that's exactly how inflation quietly makes millions of Americans poorer without taking a single dollar out of their bank accounts. But here's something even more surprising. While inflation makes life harder for many people, some people and businesses actually benefit from it.
So who are they?
Let's find out in the next chapter.
Chapter 5, a real-life example in the USA.
Let's make this even easier to understand with a real-life example. Imagine there are two friends living in the United States, John and Michael.
Both earn $4,000 per month.
Both pay rent, buy groceries, fill up their cars with gas, and save a little money every month. In year one, everything is going well.
Rent $1,500.
Groceries, $500.
Gas $200. Other monthly expenses $1,000.
Their total monthly expenses are $3,200. That means each of them can save about $800 every month. Now let's fast forward 1 year. Inflation has increased the prices of almost everything.
Rent is now $1,600.
Groceries cost $560.
Gas costs $240. Other everyday expenses have also become more expensive.
Now their monthly expenses are around $3,500. But here's the problem.
John's salary is still $4,000 per month.
Now he can only save about $500 each month instead of $800.
Nothing changed about John's lifestyle. He didn't start spending more.
He didn't buy luxury items. The only thing that changed was the price of everyday life. Now let's look at Michael. Michael received a raise, and his monthly salary increased from $4,000 to $4,300. His income went up enough to keep up with rising prices.
While inflation still affected him, he was able to maintain his lifestyle and continue saving almost the same amount of money.
This example shows an important lesson.
Inflation doesn't affect everyone in exactly the same way. People whose incomes grow faster than inflation usually manage much better, but people whose salaries stay the same or increase more slowly than inflation gradually lose purchasing power.
That's why many Americans feel that life is becoming more expensive every year, even though they are earning more than they did a few years ago.
If wages don't keep up with rising prices, everyday life becomes harder, savings become smaller, and reaching financial goals takes longer.
And this leads to an interesting question. If inflation hurts so many ordinary people, who actually benefits from inflation?
Let's explore that in the next chapter.
Chapter 6: Who benefits from inflation?
Around 2.53 minutes.
So far, we've seen how inflation can make everyday life more expensive. But here's something that surprises many people. If inflation hurts so many people, who actually benefits from it? The answer is not everyone loses. Some people and businesses can actually benefit from inflation. 1. People who own valuable assets. Imagine Sarah bought a house in the United States several years ago for $300,000.
Over time, inflation pushed up housing prices.
Now, similar houses in her neighborhood are selling for $380,000. Sarah didn't renovate the house or make major changes, yet its value increased.
The same can happen with other assets such as certain stocks or real estate, although prices don't always move the same way and can also fall. 2.
Businesses that can raise prices.
Some companies are able to pass higher costs onto customers.
For example, if a coffee shop pays more for coffee beans and milk, it may simply increase the price of a cup of coffee.
If customers continue buying, the business can protect its profits. Large companies with strong brands often find it easier to do this than smaller businesses.
3.
People with fixed-rate loans. Here's another interesting example. Imagine someone took out a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage to buy a home. If inflation rises over the years and their salary also increases, the monthly mortgage payment stays the same because the interest rate is fixed. Over time, that fixed payment may feel easier to afford because their income has grown, even though prices in general have increased. Of course, this depends on their income keeping up and doesn't mean inflation is always good for borrowers.
But most people feel the pressure.
For millions of Americans, inflation means paying more for groceries, rent, fuel, healthcare, and other everyday necessities. If wages don't increase as fast as prices, families have less money left to save or spend on other goals. So, while some people may benefit in certain situations, most households feel inflation through a higher cost of living. That brings us to the most important question of this video. How do financially smart people protect their money from inflation and stop it from losing value over time? Let's find out in the next chapter. Chapter 7: How smart people protect their money from inflation. Now that we know how inflation slowly reduces the value of money, the next question is, how do smart people protect their money from inflation? The answer is simple. Instead of letting all of their money sit in cash for many years, they try to own things that have the potential to grow in value over time. Let's look at a few common examples in the United States. 1. Investing for the long term.
Many Americans invest part of their money in stocks through retirement accounts or regular investment accounts.
While stock prices can go up and down in the short term, many people invest with a long-term goal because historically, broad stock markets have grown over long periods. Past performance, however, does not guarantee future results.
2.
Real estate. Some people buy homes or rental properties.
Over many years, property values and rental income may increase, helping offset the effects of inflation.
However, real estate also comes with risks and costs such as maintenance taxes and market fluctuations.
3.
Learning new skills. This is one of the most powerful ways to fight inflation. Imagine two people earn the same salary today.
One spends time learning new skills, improving at work, or qualifying for a better paying job.
The other never improves their skills.
A few years later, the first person may have a much higher income, making it easier to keep up with rising prices.
Sometimes, investing in yourself can be just as valuable as investing your money.
4.
Building an emergency fund.
Even people who invest usually keep some cash set aside for emergencies. An emergency fund can help cover unexpected expenses like medical bills, car repairs, or job loss without needing to borrow money.
The goal is to balance saving for emergencies with investing for long-term goals.
The biggest lesson.
The biggest mistake isn't inflation itself.
It's pretending inflation doesn't exist.
If your money stays exactly the same year after year, while prices continue to rise, your purchasing power slowly shrinks.
That's why understanding inflation is one of the first steps toward making better financial decisions. Now, let's wrap everything up and go over the biggest lessons from this video. Chapter 8: Conclusion.
So what have we learned today?
Inflation may seem like just another economic term, but it affects almost every
Part of our daily
lives. It changes how much we pay for groceries, gas, rent, healthcare, and almost everything else. The biggest lesson is this: inflation doesn't usually make your money disappear, it quietly reduces what your money can buy.
That's why someone earning the same salary year after year may feel like life is becoming more expensive, even if they're working just as hard.
But here's the good news.
Once you understand how inflation works, you can make smarter financial decisions.
You can improve your skills to increase your income, save money wisely, invest for the long term when appropriate, and plan your finances instead of simply reacting to rising prices.
Remember, inflation is a normal part of most economies. You may not be able to control it, but you can control how you prepare for it.
The earlier you understand this, the better your chances of protecting your financial future. If this video helped you understand inflation in a simple and easy way, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel for more easy to understand animated videos about finance, economics, business, and how money really works. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.